Welcome to Elevated, where we are elevating our mind, body, spirit, and our pockets. On today's show, we are talking about how to leverage social media and Instagram stories to create more business and how you can do it too. Roll intro. So I am your host, Amber Turner, aka The Sassy Entrepreneur, and I am a published author of several books about business and relationships, life coach, clarity strategist, and I am passionate about living more. So thank you so much for taking a moment out of your day to be here with me today. This episode of Elevated is brought to you by Deluxe Productions, creating and producing workshops, trainings, and events to elevate your mind. They are taking you to the next level in 2019. So, are you leveraging social media and Instagram stories in your business? I hope so. But if not, you're in luck, because today I wanted to holla at Morgan Archuleta, who has done that very thing. So, hey Morgan, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Amber?
Good. Well, thank you for joining me for the show today. Before we get into how you leverage social media in your business, can you share with the audience a little bit about you and some background?
Yeah, sure. I'm living in Colorado, but I'm a California native, and I grew up as an athlete. I never really explored business or ever thought that I'd be doing anything on business through social media. I always thought, I'd be in the athletic world. But yeah, when we moved here, we just kind of slowed down, had kids, and I realized that I couldn't, do as much as I thought that I could. And social media was actually the easiest tool to grow and expand a business. And so, yeah, that's what we've been doing.
Okay, cool. And I totally agree with that, because even for me, when I moved here too, social media was everything. And it was a way to actually get acclimated to the area and network with other people, especially if you're an introvert like me. So yeah, I can totally relate. So I want to jump into this thing we call stories and lives on Instagram, which you do so well, by the way. So it's a truly powerful tool when it comes to business and establishing a personal brand. And it's a still pretty new feature considering, but many people don't use it like they should. So why do you think that is?
I feel like, honestly, it's I think that people think that when you get in front of a camera, you're immediately performing. And as soon as you get into this performing mindset, it gets really scary, because it's you think that people expect perfection from you, when in reality, people are just wanting realness. They just want you. Right. And so when I've discovered that, I used to get so nervous getting in front of cameras, and even today I still get kind of nervous, but I think it's just a matter of showing people it's I'm basically just talking to my friends. It's not even people I don't know. I'm talking to an audience that relates to me because they're watching and following me because they're already looking for something in my life to relate to. So I'm already talking to a friend. Yeah. And so I feel like people don't understand, or not understand, but it's people get so nervous about being in front of a camera equates performing, and it's not that at all.
Right. Yeah. And so stories takes guts, especially the lives, because even for me, I have trouble with lives, which I think is quite terrifying, to be honest. So I want to talk about confidence, because obviously it takes a lot. So how have you built your confidence up to leverage social media and share you and your business with the world?
Oh gosh. Well, when it comes to confidence, it's funny because I've always heard from people that I come off as naturally confident, but I'm actually pretty freaking insecure, especially with lives, because it's there's no re-record or repeat. It's if you mess up, you mess up.
Right. Right.
And I think something that gives me more confidence when it comes to lives and even using that towards my business is being able to laugh at myself and just be super honest when I mess up, because it's just like, you can't take it back anyway. And people just want, someone real. They don't want to be sold on something. They want to be served. And like, that's helped me like grow and expand my business in my authenticity. Because people can trust me, and like, you're not going to buy something from anyone if you don't trust them. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just really really open and transparent. Like, if I mess up, I just like call myself out and I'm like whatever, moving on. Like,
yeah, interesting. So I would love to know more about storytelling, because it's interesting that you say that behind your branding on social media, because you offer and do demonstrations on your lives and stories, which I'm sure your audience appreciates. So what is the creative process for coming up with ideas for stories and doing lives?
Oh my gosh. I wouldn't call it creative. I honestly just, I only talk about things that actually pertain to me, that I've actually done, you know what I mean? And like, things that actually provide value in my life. Like, if I try something and I'm like, dude, this is really simple and it worked for me, saves me time or money, and I share that. Like, and so it's just about a matter of talking to, like I said before, like talking to your audience of people who, like real life things. Like, I don't talk about things that I don't really know about. I just talk about things that actually apply to my everyday life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're obviously very passionate about what you do. So what would you say is the key factor in becoming like comfortable with it?
Trial and error, girl.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. It's really just a matter of like trial and error. Like, it's, I feel like for me, like what got me like really confident and comfortable in what I'm doing is knowing why I'm doing it. And so really like establishing that for myself, like, really helps me serve people without it being about me. Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm just, I'm going through these things, but I'm talking about it with people because I know that other people are going through this too. Yeah. And so it's a matter of like either relating to people or helping them through something that you've already been through. And that's why I do it. It's about serving people. It's not about me. Yeah. And so that actually kind of helps with like the confidence piece too, is that it's not about me.
Absolutely. And what advice could you give someone to overcome fear? Because I feel like for a lot of people, video is just, people are so fearful of video, but I just feel like it's just a great way to connect with someone, because seeing a photo of someone is okay. You can kind of get a gist of who they are, but when you talk to them, you see their mannerisms and you see how they talk and how they relate to other people, I think it's just very, very powerful. So how can people get over that fear and actually do more stories and do video?
Yeah, well, I feel like that's like more of like a work in yourself type of thing, but it also just comes with just being willing to put yourself out there. And like, cause like you said, like people like to know you, like people, and they see that through video. Like people give like the highlight reels of pictures you can pose really perfectly, and that's cute. But like, it's like when you actually see someone on a video, like you can kind of get a feel more of who they are. And so I feel like when it comes to like getting over the fear, it's more of just like being comfortable in yourself and just knowing that like my identity doesn't come from anyone's judgments of me. Like, I'm just figuring this out too. You know what I mean? Like, and you're not going to please everybody. Absolutely. And so it's just like, just put yourself out there. You're going to attract the people that you want and need in your life anyway. And the people that like aren't attracted to you, it's just kind of like, it's totally fine. Like, and you get more comfortable and confident the more that you do it too.
Mm-hmm. And so what advice could you give others that have a similar passion or business on how they can share it with the world?
Oh, okay. So have you ever heard of the Enneagram?
Oh, what?
The Enneagram?
No.
It's a personality test.
Oh.
And it's rated through like numbers 1 and 9, but it basically breaks down like what motivates you. And when it comes to that specifically, I always tell people there is no one size fits all for it. You literally have to figure out like what motivates you and share in the way that motivates you. So for some people, for example, like they're really motivated by facts and like science and research and all that stuff. I'm not. I am It's like a very specific crowd.
Yeah.
I'm honestly really motivated by like personal relationships and serving people in like their individual niche.
Yeah.
And so I always tell people, like, figure out what motivates you and share in that way. Like, don't try to share like everyone else, like share in the way that actually like pertains to your strengths and the things that interest you.
Mhm.
Like, just because someone's really successful at sharing a certain way, don't think that you have to do it that way. They're just sharing in a way that's actually true to who they are. And so that's my advice for that.
Yeah, really great advice. And like from starting your own business, can you share what was a major challenge that you faced?
Um, a major
I'm
challenge.
sure there were several because I mean we all, there's
I
a
know,
lot.
like, where do I start? I feel like when it comes to starting a business, my major challenge was probably like the slap in the face of like the reality that like the investment in the beginning of like investment of time, the investment of money, the investment in like that you get very little back in the beginning. And so that was hard for me because I was like, well, if I just work really hard, I'll get a paycheck right away. And that's just not the reality of starting your own business.
Right. Oh yeah, I can see that, and I feel it in my heart.
Yeah.
I feel it. Before we get into some wrap-up questions, I would love to know what was the biggest success or win you had from utilizing video and lives and Instagram stories?
Honestly, the relationships that I've developed from them, that makes it worth everything to me. Like, I've had a lot of people just kind of slip into my inbox and just say like how much like something I shared with them like really educated them or really encouraged them or really made them feel like they weren't alone. And that's like everything, like, to me. Like, I'm just like, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So just to hear that feedback and to like affirm that purpose for me is like, it means everything.
Yeah. And I think too, at this point, people are more vested in businesses that they can connect with. And so people buy from people. And at this point, like that relationship building, for especially with business, is so imperative.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
So excellent. So where can people connect with you online?
I'd say the easiest way is definitely through Instagram. I'm on there all day. Yeah, so my Instagram handle is just my name, Morgan Archuleta.
Now I have a few wrap-up questions. So I'm a big advocate from learning the lesson from our struggles. I would love to know, what was a big obstacle that you endured when it comes to social media?
So for my personality type, I tend to be a very, very vulnerable person. I think my biggest struggle was learning the balance of like when to be vulnerable and how vulnerable to be, and being way too shallow, like totally swinging that pendulum.
Yeah.
That was my biggest struggle. And so I've kind of feel like I've kind of gotten to the point where I found the middle piece of like being vulnerable, being relatable, being real, but without being shallow or emotionally volatile. So
yeah, that's interesting. And I love the way that you put that, because that it is a balance, because social media can be, it is, especially with Instagram. I mean, it started off where it was just pictures. And now that with these new features coming out, you can share more about more of your personality and who you are, and like videos and things like that. But it definitely is, because I can see it where you can be too vulnerable. You can share a little too much information, like TMI, like,
right.
Oh, you didn't really want to know that. Like, so
like,
yeah. Yeah, so it definitely is a balance, and I love that. That's really great. So beautiful. So what has been your life's deepest insight, and what would you say to listeners to help them create the life that they want?
Wow. I honestly feel like, for me anyway, and I can't speak for everyone, but for me, I feel like I actually am living in a life that I want, while it's completely like still in a huge messy process, but it's like I'm living in it because it's like I'm very grateful for like the journey that I've had and like the crap that I've gone through that has gotten me to this point of this mindset of like that everything is a tool. Everything that I've ever experienced in my life is a tool to serve people and to love people better and well. And that makes me feel like I'm constantly living in abundance. It has nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with like my Instagram following. It has nothing to do with those things. It's more of that. It's like, I just feel so free to love. And in that, everything like abundance begets more abundance, you know? And so it's like, my freedom here and like that, I know that sounds like super emotional, but it's like, no, like my freedom and like being able to love people and serve people well is like basically just bringing more abundance in other areas of my life. And so I hope that answered your question.
Oh, yeah. Amen to that. Amen to that. Well, thank you so much for that. And thank you, Morgan, for joining me on today's show. It definitely was a pleasure. So I want to hear from you. What is your biggest challenge that you have with social media and Instagram stories? If you're interested in more on how to improve your skills in life and your business, we would also love to have you join us on Patreon for more videos like this and group coaching sessions. Also, for personal coaching and mentorship, please visit me at ambermarieturner.com. Leave your comments below, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and we will check you on the next episode.